PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast on the PLD Projects Network. I am your host, PLD. With me, as always, my co-pilot, the man with the hair, the man with the muscles, the man with the scream of 1,000 screams, Matty Gunner. How are you doing, my friend?
That's quite the intro. I appreciate that. The man with the hair, the man with the muscles, the man with the scream.
Yeah, that's pretty much sums you up. I mean, you got a big heart too. You got a big heart, but I let them find that out.
I actually, just funny story. I do actually have a slightly enlarged heart.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew that. Obviously, that's why I said
it. Yeah, but yeah, no, that is that's a thing. Right. But it's never like caused me any grief. Like I've never had like pains from it or anything. But
emotional pains.
Those come more from goth women than they do an enlarged heart.
Goth women, your both your love and your curse.
My muse, my love, my curse. I keep seeing this one WWE wrestler come up in my algorithm, and our good friend Auden Diaz pointed me to her page. Yes, Rhea Ripley.
Mommy.
And she now comes up a lot on my algorithm, which is kind of weird because she kind of looks like a friend of mine, but like a more jacked version of a friend of mine.
She's definitely jacked.
That's so I'm sure. I'm kind of conflicted about how I feel about this. But yes,
I think you love it. Speaking of jacked women, I gotta say, I'm gonna put it out here. Nothing anywhere else. I just watched the second trailer for Love Lies Bleeding. This is not Star Wars related at all, so I'm gonna get this out of my system. Love Lies Bleeding is a movie coming out in March. It is starring, actually, technically, it's a little Star Wars related. It stars Kristen Stewart. It stars Katie O'Brien from The Mandalorian as a jacked bodybuilder. They're jacked bodybuilder lesbians.
She's pretty jacked.
Oh yeah, and look at this. She's really jacked in these photos. If you watch the trailer afterward, you'll see really jacked. And Kristen Stewart's father is played by the one and only Ed Harris, and it is a great trailer. It looks dark. It looks like.
Did you do a trailer reaction solely because of Ed Harris?
I did that for the Patreon for the first trailer. I did not do a trailer reaction for this one because I just before we got on, I watched it really quickly because it was out. I was surprised trailer dropped that Katie O'Brien retweeted. So I just watched it. Looks great. We'll watch it afterwards. Maybe somebody else you're listening, go watch it. It looks good. Ed Harris looks a little like Crypt Keeper. It's got this great like skull mullet. It's phenomenal.
I mean, he is getting pretty old. So
he is. He absolutely is.
Speaking of Star Wars adjacent movies, have you had this rumor that Hayden Christensen is going to be voicing Shadow in the next Sonic movie?
I have heard this. I do not. It's not confirmed, right?
No, it's not confirmed. Like I just saw like someone post about it.
Yeah, I did hear the rumor. I didn't look into it, but I would be all over that, to be completely honest. I love the first two Sonic movies. Me and my son watched them both. I can't wait for the third one to come out. It's been a kind of for video game movies.
Shock horror. Shadow is my favorite character in Sonic, like in the games and everything. Like Shock horror. Shadow is my favorite character. I mean, a lot of people would probably think that it's Knuckles, but.
Not for you. I'd always think it's Shadow, but I gotta say it's kind of a perfect casting. I mean, if you can get somebody to play Shadow, you get Anakin Skywalker to play Shadow. You know, I mean, it would be worth the shots there. But I was glad to see they're actually going to get Jim Carrey back. I mean, there was kind of like he had retired. And he was going to retire. And like, it felt like at the end of 2, like I remember when 2 came out, there's initial thought of they were going to do a 3, but Jim Carrey probably wouldn't come back because he was going to be done. But lo and behold, he's going to do it. I kind of think like he's retired, but he'll keep coming back to do Sonic movies. I think that's kind of what it feels like at this point.
You know, Jim Carrey has done more for metal in movies than any other actor.
You're not wrong.
Because he had the Pantera moment in Sonic 2.
Yep.
And there is the legendary scene in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective where he walks through the club and Cannibal Corpse is playing.
It's good shit right there. Jim Carrey. But anyway, that is all. That's the non-adjacent.
Speaking of people that could play a really good Hondo,
Jim Carrey as Hondo, huh?
If we can't have Jim Carrey, if we can't have Jim Cummings,
right, or
Jim
Antonio
Carrey.
Banderas, but Jim
Antonio
Carrey might not work. Jim Carrey could work. I can see. He'd be a different kind of Hondo, but I could see it work. Well, let's get into our Star Wars news. Obviously, if you haven't seen our show before, well, first click that like, click that subscribe, all that stuff. If you're listening on the podcast feed, you can leave us some 5-star reviews. Get us that really helps out the show. Although I will say, actually, really quickly, and kind of a little bit of housekeeping. This is a soft announcement. I'll probably put a video up eventually when I get more details on it. But I'll let you guys know if you're watching. I'm going to be probably splitting our audio feed up. I had a great talk with Brad Gilmore from Gilmore Media, who we are under the umbrella of for our audio podcast wise. Right now, everything's under the PLD Projects Network banner, but we are kind of a very diverse groupings of shows. We have Star Wars, we have horror franchises, we have V, we have Queen. We have a lot of different kind of shows that might serve best if we actually just give them all their own separate feed. So if that happens, I will let everyone know. I'm not going to delete anything from this feed, the original feed at this point. I'll actually probably just put carbon copies up of what's on this feed, like all our past episodes. I'll start building that other feed up, just like slowly, day by day, putting up new episodes or the older episodes until we catch up to current. When we catch up current, then I'll move everything over, and then that feed will be the Holy Snokes feed. The other feed will be the review feed. I think I'll probably keep this feed as the PJ and me, 2 Munich or Way 2s and Big Blue Box. Only because I think it makes sense to kind of like build up our own niche audience in each kind of show. So might be a lot more for you to follow, but at the same time, if you only follow us for Star Wars content, you could just substitute, go for the Holy Snokes feed and not have to worry about anything else we do. If you are liking everything else, you can sub to all 4 or 5, whatever I do. Hell, I might put Class Action back up there. Our retired show, which always threatens to make a comeback if Jarby can ever make his return from Estonia out of his podcast, which he's doing a new podcast over there actually with his job and his work and everything else. So I him well.
I mean, I've tried to listen to it, but I do not speak Estonian. So
that is a little bit of a stumbling block for me as well.
I listen to it, but then I'm like, because I want to support our boy, but then I'm like,
yeah,
I'm just gonna leave the. I'm gonna leave the like, because I can't understand it.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, regardless, that's a little bit of housekeeping news we had on this show here. My dog is very excited about getting to it.
He's very excited about Jarby's new show.
He's very excited about Jarby's new show. That's true. Jack knows a lot over there. He's got a very fine taste, a very discernible taste. So, but on Always Snokes, we take a big topic. Today's topic, all about Asajj. We have talking about Asajj Ventress, obviously making her big return to Bad Batch season 3. That's what we've been doing the last couple of weeks, building up. Last week we did the
first goth woman of Star Wars.
The first goth woman of Star Wars. That's right. We're leading up to the Bad Batch season premiere, which is in 2 weeks. I'm very excited for that. I can't believe it's finally here. I think next week I'll even pitch it. I'm going to pitch it on here.
Really, in 2 weeks?
But in 2 weeks, we're ready to go. Ready to go. I think next week we're going to do I'm going to call it the Odds On Show. We're just going to give our odds, our final predictions of Bad Batch season 3. And the rest of the
are we doing the bingo card thing that people are doing?
We might quite do something like that. Maybe the PLD Products version of that. We'll fine tune it off air before we go live.
I have an idea, and I'm going to pitch this live on air. This is like a pre-production meeting.
Let's do it.
You know the Royal Rumble, how they have the balls and like they pick the random ones out.
Yeah, of course.
We find something like that, or we do a wheel, and we put different predictions on the wheel. We spin the wheel, and whatever it lands on, we discuss.
I could do that. I could do something like that, or at least incorporate that into an idea. Yeah, we'll fine tune it. We'll fine tune it this week. But that's either way. Next week will be about our final. Let's make it fun.
Let's make it interactive and let's make it fun.
Absolutely, I love that idea. So, but again, we have our big topic, which is Asajj Ventress this week. We always discuss news bits first. We had a fair shaking of news this week. One very big topic, which we'll close on. But let's get into the news bits now. First up, I usually get all my news from Star Wars News Done. I love how they curate the news. I always say that like they're a sponsor. They're not a sponsor. They have no idea who we are. I don't think, but I do like to pitch them because I do think they do a very good job of curating the news and cutting the wheat from the chaff, so to speak, and getting us guess what's real, what's true, what's a rumor, and all that jazz. But interesting bit of news there. Wes Chatham discussed Captain Enoch in the interview. Had a couple of quick points I'll read out to you, and then we can discuss it. The character's design and its calling to Arthurian legend was something that both Wes Chatham and Dave Filoni talked about. Wes Chatham was quoted as saying, "When I saw the Captain Enoch uniform for the first time, it reminded me of Excalibur. And I remember having a conversation with Dave Filoni, and he was excited that I picked up that detail. But before seeing the designs, Chatham explained how much secrecy was behind his auditions. This is a little humorous backstory. I love this. He goes, when we found out that it was an audition for Star Wars and they wanted me to go to a suit test in LA, we asked all the questions that you ask. It's like, what is the role? What is this? What is the time commitment? And they're like, sorry, we can't give you any of that. Do you want to come out or test or not? And I was like, yeah, I'm coming out. And I told my team, listen, don't count on me to be a tough negotiator because as soon as I show up and as soon as I see stormtroopers and things like that, they have me. I'm not coming home. And even on set, it appears Chadwick never went away. He explained that he's excited about when Filoni's created had a deep veneration for him and his work. Like you're standing in the hangar of a Star Destroyer that you've watched your whole life. Stormtroopers are walking by. So it was like walking into a dream that got to be a part of this thing. And it was exhilarating. It was some of the most fun I've ever had. I've had a lot of respect for Dave Filoni and have a lot of respect for what he's done, what he's doing with Star Wars and for Star Wars. And so to be something that he created and a wholly original thing is really exciting and really compelling. I think the potential of this character is exciting. There are some vague hints. There has to be a reason that the character is there. Thrawn introduced one person, and that's Captain Enoch. So,
yeah.
So we hear the stuff all the time about like a lot of this. I mean, that I laugh every time I hear them, and I don't tire of them, even though we get a lot of the stories of, well, just for Star Wars, I was going to be in it because I love Storm. I get it because they're like one of us. If we did the same way, I would, if I had got to audition for Star Wars, they wouldn't have to pay me. I'm like, yeah, hell's yeah, I'm going to be in it. I'm going to be on screen in the Star Wars galaxy. Sign me up. I'll pay you. At this point, which my negotiators would not want to hear, of course, but it's the same story over and over. But still, I love reading those stories. Do you ever get sick of those, or can you read them all day long?
No, I mean, it's cool hearing people having a good experience on Star Wars. I can't remember who I was listening. I was listening to an interview with an actor the other day that was talking about how they love being on movie sets and they get disappointed when God, what actor was it? I can't remember for the life of me who it was. I was listening to an interview with an actor, and they said how they get really Robert Downey Jr. That was it. He was saying how he gets really excited to be on set, and he was it RDJ? Oh no, it wasn't RDJ. It was Brolin because it was one of the interviews for Doom Part 2. It was Josh Brolin, not RDJ. It was Josh Brolin, and he said how he gets really excited to be on set, and he gets like really disappointed when he hears actors have a bad experience. So he's like, why? Like, why? We have one of the best jobs in the world, like,
right.
And Star Wars is absolutely one of those jobs where you're like, holy shit, like, we're really here.
Yeah, you get to be a kid again. I mean, let's be honest. Like, I'm not one of those people that says, "Oh, actors work is so easy. They get paid so much money to do nothing." But like, there is a small grain of truth to that, and they do get paid a lot. But they do hard work at the same time. You're getting paid right now to basically be a kid again. You get to go play Star Wars for a little while. I mean, you're getting paid to do that. That's awesome. I mean, sure, I know it's not. I've never done it, and I know it's not just like that. There's a lot goes behind it, and a lot of hard work goes behind it, and a lot of waiting around, and it's not quite as magical as it's made out to be because of all the grunt type stuff that has to go on to do it. But at the same time, if you can kind of distance yourself from that, you go, I'm here making the thing that I used to play when I was a kid. There's something magical about that. So, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that let's talking about the future of the character. Obviously, we're getting in Ahsoka season 2. We don't know when we're going to see Thrawn again. If it's going to be Ahsoka season 2, if it's going to be
I
Mando
don't
movie, Mando season 4. If that even happens, we don't know. I mean, who knows where we're going to see him next? But do we think we get more from Enoch at this point, or is it going to be kind
No,
of
I
like
don't think we're
Captain
doing
Phasma?
Ahsoka. I don't think we're doing Ahsoka. I think he could very. I have the feeling he's going to be like the replacement for Rook.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. We obviously lost Rook in Rebels at the end there. That makes sense. So it's kind of like a different kind of Rook potentially. So he'd be the heir to the Empire movie, which is the Mando Dave Filoni Mando movie. Although it all depends. We still don't know where we're going to see Thrawn next. I mean, obviously that's where we're going to see Enoch next, is wherever we see Thrawn next, and we just don't have that solidly in place yet. I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be Ahsoka. I kind of feel like Ahsoka season 2 is not going to be Thrawn related. I think it's going to be more fine tuned on the Peridian Galaxy. Got to find a better name for that galaxy, because it's like calling this the Earth Galaxy. It's a planet, not a galaxy, but the other galaxy. So we'll have to see where it all falls down. I mean, he's not going to be in Skeleton Crew. I don't think he's Thrawn in Skeleton Crew. Although, you know what? Maybe we do. Who knows? There's so much secrecy behind that show at this point. I mean, we don't know what we're seeing. The only thing we're seeing is we know we're seeing Jude Law. We know we're seeing Urkel as a pirate. That was something that was leaked out. We know we're seeing the pirate Vane from Mando. Other than that, a bunch of kids, and story-wise, who knows? But either way, I kind of feel like he's going to be the Phasma a little bit of the show. I think he's going to be probably much more of a background character who has some cool moments. I don't expect a whole lot from him, but I'm hoping we get a good scene or two, maybe a good battle with him and somebody. Maybe him and Ezra can go at it or something to that effect. Maybe maybe he's a warrior we don't know more. Maybe we'll learn more about. Maybe some Night Sister magic did something to him. Who knows? A lot of fun to be had. But either way, as always, I'm always glad to see someone who appreciates being in the role taking on the role. So. All right, next a bit of news we're going to talk about. This is actually just a very brief news bit. Marvel Comics is doing an adaptation of the Ahsoka series as a comic book. It's coming out in July, and that's just for me to say. There it is for you guys. So, because quite honestly, I don't read the adaptions myself. It has nothing against people who do. Some people have said that they found new things in it. I tried reading one once. It kind of felt to me like I was like, I've seen it. I don't need the adaptation. If I'm going to read a comic on it, it's nothing against comics, but if I'm going to read a comic, I want to read a new story or something different, something fill in the gaps. I'd love to see like an Ahsoka comic where we kind of see what was going on around the Ahsoka series potentially. That'd be kind of cool to me. Otherwise, I don't want to say it's not worth it. Some people it is worth it, but when you have I can only buy so many comics here and there, read so many comics. I kind of have to make my choices, and that's when I kind of go, probably not for me. How about you? Do you ever read the adaptations?
No, I watched the show.
Yeah. It's funny.
There's no point really. Like, I mean, the only reason I can think they do those adaptations is maybe for younger kids that like their parents don't want them watching the shows. Maybe their parents think the shows are too violent or too distressing for younger kids, so they give them the comics. But I mean, my first comic was Judge Dredd. So
yeah, there you go. That's true.
I had no idea what it was. But like I just opened it up and I was just like, holy shit, what the hell is this?
That tracks for you.
My nan took that away from me so fast when I got in the house. Like she just saw the cover and like flicked through the first few pages and there were like boobs and shit in there and like she was just like, nope, you're not having that. And I was like, man,
son of a bitch.
What was it? 3000 AD? I think it was called.
That makes sense.
Yeah, Judge Dredd comics 3000 AD. Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah,
that was my very first one with an issue with that.
I have to go back and reread that, but yeah, there's definitely some, shall we say, mature content in those for sure.
That was a lot.
It's almost like I want to say, going back to the adaptation part of things, I always feel like a little bit almost hypocritical, because like I do read novelizations of movies. I love like reading the Revenge of the Sith novelization. I guess the difference is
those are different though. They add stuff to it.
Exactly my point is the difference is that the novels get a really large place to move around in to like add additional scenes, add additional moments, additional concepts. When you have a comic book, you still only have like the 22 pages or whatever it is. I don't know what they are. The common page count it is now 22 pages of illustrations. You can't get that much more in depth than the show itself did. So for me, not worth it. But I have to mention it. I figure if people out there listen, maybe they do love it and they want to know what's coming out. Coming out in July. So here we go. All right, next up piece of news, got the Saturn Awards as well as Grammy Awards. It's award season. We had some cool moments in here. I'll talk first quickly about the Grammy. Gordy Habb and Stephen Barton won the Grammy for Best Score Soundtrack for Video Games and Other Interactive Media for Jedi Survivor, beating out Sarah Schachter for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Peter Murray, J. Scott McCoskey, and Chucky Myers for Hogwarts Legacy, and Jess Sero, Tripod, and Austin Wintory for Stray Gods, the role-playing musical. I don't know any of the other scores for that. I don't even honestly know the Jedi Survivor score because I haven't played the game. But I've heard good things about the score. I've heard that a lot of people like the score, and they've pointed out when they played the game that they enjoyed that. Have you played Survivor yet? Did you go?
Yeah, I played it on the stream and I finished
That's
it.
right.
One of the most heartbreaking fucking games I've ever played.
Damn.
And I played the last. Oh, dude, the score is beautiful. There's one scene. It's like right at the end. Like it's one of the final shots, and anyone who's played the game and like knows what I'm talking about.
Right.
I was cut. Like I was sitting there on stream, just like, don't you dare start crying. Don't you dare start crying.
That's the best of Star Wars right there. Turns the best of us into sobbing messes, as we know.
But to quote the great Marshall Mathers, you think I give a damn about a Grammy? Half you critics can't even stomach me, let alone stand me. I'm very jaded when it comes to the Grammys because they put like best rock and best metal performance on like the pre-show of the pre-show. Like you have Robert Trujillo from Metallica, the biggest band of all time, going up to accept an award that isn't even televised anywhere.
That's
and
awful.
It's just like the disrespect. And like for this, like a score for a video game of one of the biggest franchises ever.
Right.
And like you don't even the Grammys is just via committee bullshit. I'm more good with the Saturn Award. I just can't stand the Grammys.
I get that. To little minor counter, I totally get what you're saying about the Grammy Awards, and I don't disagree. Hell, Freddie Mercury never won a Grammy, and that says something to me. But I will give credit where credit's due. The show this year was very interesting for the first time in years, only because we had a lot of like cool returns. Tracy Chapman coming back for the first time in 20 years to do Fast Car with Luke Combs. I believe that's the guy who did it with. I'm not sure. I don't know my country artist, so I apologize. Joni Mitchell coming back at 80 years old or a brain aneurysm to perform for the first time. And of course, they closed the show with Billy Joel, who played his new song. That was the first time that he's done a real solo pop song by himself since River Dreams in 1993. There was a couple of dalliances of like Christmas of Fallujah and things like that, but he did it with somebody. So maybe 2007, 2008, but really the first proper Billy Joel single since like 1993. And he hasn't lost a step. It was great to see him perform. So that's kind of cool, but that's less on the Grammys and more about that's just the show itself. So I got to give that credit. But
I don't mind the awards. I mean, hell, my friend Ellie won one of the Grammys this year for I think it was like a remix that my friend Ellie Duhay did with, I think it was Skrillex. Like she was part of that win, and I texted her straight away. I was just like, hell yeah, congratulations, well done, that's huge.
Yeah.
It's more of like the presentation, and I guess it's my problem with the Oscars as well. It's just like how certain category, like there's no award for stunts and choreography.
I think that's going to happen soon. I really do. I really feel like there's a groundswell for it. So,
and John Wick should get an immediate
retrospective award, retroactive award.
Like the fact that Jackie Chan has only got an honorary Oscar, it's fucking ridiculous to me.
Yeah, it's just a genre and a part of the filmmaking that's just been long ignored, and that should be they should change that. But hopefully, Hopefully, we'll get that in the next couple of years. That's what I'm betting. So,
And I'm not saying this to get the Swifties after us. Like,
okay.
I'm not a Taylor Swift fan,
God.
but I'm also not a Taylor Swift hater.
Mm,
So don't come at me. But like, after winning album of the year, 4 years on the chart,
mm.
maybe we could give some shine to the other genres. Like,
I guess that's fair. That's fair.
there is some. It's kind of like they're like, oh, Taylor's here, and obviously she's in the news a lot lately. And I
Right.
love how we're getting into the Taylor Swift conversation on the Star Wars podcast. I have an immense amount of respect for her as an artist and
Absolutely.
what she's done. But
She
at the
certainly
same
knows what she's
time,
doing.
I'm just like, guys,
Yeah, I
there's
get that.
more that there are more artists in the world than Taylor Swift.
Well, it's all about selling
She's
tickets.
not the
Also,
only one.
got to catch those views, and right now, there's no bigger star in the world at this point. So I get it. I get both sides of the argument. I totally see too. I'd rather see
If
some
she
more
ran
new
for
acts.
president, if
She
it
could
turned
win.
into Joe Biden versus
Taylor
Taylor
Swift.
Swift or
She could
Donald
win.
Trump versus Taylor Swift, she'd win.
I think she absolutely could win. I would not be surprised at all.
Never served
She's
public
reached
office in
the
her
apex.
life.
Nope. She's reached a certain apex, though. It's hard to get there.
Good for her, man.
Hard to stay there. But yeah, she's been at the top for a while. I mean, it is good for her too. She's a hardworking, very hardworking woman, and it's taken me a long time, and I didn't really like her at the beginning. I will still say at the beginning I didn't like when she first came out. I hated her live performances. I didn't like that. I thought her voice was rough and everything else. But she has staked her claim, and she has built an empire, and I can't help but be respectful of that. So good for her. So. But moving on from the Grammys, let's go into the Saturn Awards. There, we mentioned earlier about last time about Dave Filoni winning his award, but we also had some good wins for Star Wars. Bad Batch won Best Animated Series, defeating Chainsaw Man, Gremlins, Secrets of the Mogwai, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Harley Quinn, My Adventures with Superman, and Star Trek Lower Decks, which is I've only seen a few of them, but all the ones I have seen have been tremendous. So Bad Batch winning definitely is a big feather in the cap here of Star Wars Lucasfilm's animation division. Andor won Best New Genre Series, defeating The Ark, The Last of Us, The Rings of Power, Silo, The Walking Dead, Dead City, and Wednesday, which was very cool.
I'm gonna say this nicely. I'm not surprised it beat Walking Dead Dead City.
Yeah, that's fine. I didn't watch it, so I have no idea. I didn't watch the Dead City. I have an Out of the Walking Dead game for quite a while now.
I picked it up because I haven't watched Walking Dead since the season after Negan kills
Glenn?
who he kills.
That's a spoiler, but it's a
And
long spoiler.
yeah, fuck it.
Glenn.
After he killed Glenn. It was so long ago if you haven't watched it now. Like, and then like that scene left us on a oh shit moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the season after didn't really like deliberately like capitalize on it. But I love Norman Reedus. Like I love Norman Reedus to death. Even though he did bite my style with the look of Daryl Dixon, with the plaid shirt and everything, with the leather jacket over the plaid, whatever it can be forgiven. He loves motorbikes.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the show that they were doing about him. I thought that was the Daryl show. So I watched a few episodes and I was just like, this.
Oh, it's not this. Gotcha.
This is not good.
That's fair. I didn't bother. I don't know. I'll watch that. I could see myself like if I ever slow down on some of my watchings, maybe I go, maybe I'll check out the rest and finish it up.
Surprised to beat The Last of Us though.
Yeah, I was too. But that's okay. But we also, I will say, we did have a couple of awards we were up for in laws. And Star Trek kind of whooped Star Wars ass a little bit. The rest of the stuff, and we beat Star Trek Lower Decks with Bad Batch, but Andor was up for. It did not win Best Sci-Fi Series because it lost to Picard season 3.
Was Picard season 3 that good? I had the first two seasons were dog shit.
I will say Picard season 1 and 2 weren't as bad as people said they were. I watched them both. I get why people.
I'm not Trekkie, so I'm just going off of your
right. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself Trekkie, but I have watched most the old stuff specifically. There's a lot of new stuff I haven't caught up on yet. I haven't watched Strange New Worlds at all. I would like to eventually. But yeah, Picard season 3 was really Picard season 3. Honestly, I'm talking about Star Trek, the Star Wars show now, but it was probably the perfect way to do like a legacy sequel as a series. Picard season 1 and 2 were fine, but season 3 really caught the spirit of Next Generation and really basically felt like a proper Next Generation finale. Like Star Trek had a Next Generation had a decent finale. But like it's like how like Toy Story had a great finale, but then they did Toy Story 2, and Toy Story 2 was a great film. And they had a great finale. Picard had a great finale as well, and good for him.
Little tangent on that. I mean, I'm not surprised because Sir Patrick Stewart is one of the greatest actors of all time. Especially, did you see the commercial that Paramount put out the other day?
I did.
Holy shit!
It's so good. It was so.
I
good.
never, in all my years, thought I would hear Sir Patrick Stewart singing Creed.
Moments, like there's so many great moments in that. Like I'm totally paraphrasing now. Shut your face, Drew Barrymore. The moment for Patrick Stewart, and of course, I think after was it Drew or somebody said also knows Creed just starts playing, and he looks and he goes, "Okay, Creed's here now." Okay.
And one of the dudes, I can't remember who it was, has got like a Creed tramp stamp tattoo.
Gotta watch it again. I think it's a Super Bowl commercial they played early, but it was pretty fun. I gotta say.
I think so. Like Patrick Stewart like strips down and he's in like an old school like rugby outfit from like from the 40s or 50s.
He chucks Arnold.
He throws on. And then he turns around and afterwards he goes, "If only there was someone made of pigskin." And they all turn and look and there's Peppa Pig. And I'm just like,
so good.
But it was him like improvising a Creed song. But I was like, this man is just
a legend.
I hope he lives forever. I truly do.
That's actually a tangent back because Diego Luna was also up for Best Actor, and he lost it to Patrick Stewart for Picard.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that as well. The one I'm not quite as okay with, haven't seen both shows, but it is what it is. Katie Sackhoff for Mando season 3 and Genevieve O'Reilly for Andor both lost in supporting actress to Jerry Ryan for Picard as well. So Picard is really cleaning up.
Now, are you saying this because you've seen both shows, or because you have a somewhat a bias for Katie?
Oh, I've seen both shows.
Being
seen all
her producer.
Shows. No, not a producer. No, not a producer. Don't do that. I'm a producer. I just help out with the audio stuff. That's all it is. It's all good. I just want that clear. I did not say that. I'm not saying that. I just work with her. But anyway, and here, you know what? This actually is the best. I would have put Genevieve O'Reilly over Katie and Jerry Ryan for Picard, to be honest with you. I love Genevieve O'Reilly as Mon Mothma. I think she was really spectacular. I love Katie Sackhoff too, though, no doubt. I would love to see. I still have pitched it everywhere. I would love to see a Book of Bo-Katan series or something to that effect. I think that'd be a great show, and I think she would deliver spectacular in the role. Jerry Ryan was fine in Picard. I prefer Genevieve O'Reilly for sure. That's my own thing. And finally, the one I can't argue against because I haven't seen it, so I don't know, but I'm upset anyway. It's one of those things you're upset at somebody didn't win an award because they did really freaking good, but you didn't see the guy who won the award, so you can't really have a leg to stand on. But Giancarlo Esposito for Mando and Andy Serkis for Andor lost our best guest star to Paul Wesley for Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I think Andy Serkis could probably beat everybody. I have a hard time believing anybody could have beaten Andy Serkis' job in Andor as the guest star.
I'll be that guy. Fuck that. Especially Andy. Like, nah.
Okay. I mean, I feel like that's what I would be saying anyway. I fully admit, but I will hold off and say I will be that person. Say I will eventually watch Star Trek.
To this point,
Giancarlo, yeah, I mean, wasn't in a lot of Mando season 3. You got to remember, he wasn't in a whole lot of it. He didn't come in back until the end. Only had a couple.
He's the main villain,
but he's only in like 3 episodes or 4 at most, I think. That's actually a guest star. So, but yeah, no, I get it. But that was the awards. And I will throw the other tangent. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny won Best Fantasy Film. Harrison Ford won Best Actor, and Best Score went to Johnny Williams. So I'm okay with that, quite frankly.
But Indiana Jones bombed.
Right.
It wasn't that great.
Exactly. Anyway, the audio.
That's Harrison Ford you're talking about. Shut your goddamn mouth.
Exactly. You shut your mouth when you're talking about Harrison Ford. Two more pieces of news before our big to do. This one of those again, yeah, duh moments. I pitch these as the yeah, duh moments when people
Mhm.
talk well about an upcoming project. That's their job, right? That's what they're supposed to do. But
Mhm.
sometimes I highlight them more than others, and this one I want to highlight because Stellan Skarsgård, who is now he's out there promoting Dune Part Two. Um, According to IO9, who we were interviewing him, they stated, though he couldn't say much, when IO9 asked about the Star Wars series, his face apparently lit up. And he added, I'm satisfied where it goes. Yeah, it's such good writing, and it's Tony Gilroy. I really like to say his lines. Um, it felt like more than the typical promoting BS. It says when he lights up and you say you push that kind of thing, I think that makes sense. We already know what Tony Gilroy did in season one. We already know some of the great lines that Stellan got to say in season one. We're getting more of that in season two. And Stellan, who is a very fine actor, a very good actor, if he's happy with the lines he gets to deliver in season two and where it goes, that's okay by me. That makes me excited. Not gonna lie.
You have any idea how excited I am to watch Stellan Skarsgård and Christopher Walken go back and forth in Dune 2?
Oh God, that's gonna be phenomenal.
My God, dude.
Oh yeah.
That's going to be so good. But
Yeah.
yeah, again, that is a yeah, duh. But
Mm-hmm.
it's one that I'm like, well, yeah, Stellan Skarsgård. Like, I could write a children's book and if Stellan Skarsgård's reading it, like it's gonna sound like Shakespearean
Shakespeare.
poetry.
Yep.
Yeah,
He is one of those actors for sure. So I'm excited. Very excited.
I could get him to read me the entire Cheesecake Factory menu, and
That's
it would
season
sound
three. That's season three after Andor season two.
because that is a big ass menu.
Yeah, it is. It's a full season, maybe season and a half. Of course, season two coming out in 2025. We believe at this point, no dates have been set, but definitely pushed back because of the strikes. But I have a feeling we're going to see that in early 2025. So I can't wait for that for sure. Some sad news to report. If you watch Two Mediocre White Dudes on film, PJ and I got a chance to break into it. And if you watch Ken Knapsack, he was on his podcast with Alden Diaz. What's the name of it again? It's their news podcast they do every Friday. I love the show. I can't remember the name of it now. I'm
What's
blanking
that,
on it.
sir?
Him and Alden's podcast, the news podcast they do on Fridays.
Oh, anytime with Ken and Alden.
Anytime. That's what I want to say all the time, but I knew it wasn't that. I couldn't think of it. Anytime
Mm.
Ken and Alden, I'll push that though. It's a great show. They're getting their own YouTube channel. You should go sub on that. Where they talk about news and stuff. I remember they were live streaming, and when I brought the news to the chat because I was
Oh, you were that guy.
I was that guy. I hated doing it.
Oh.
Actually, I texted Ken later on. I'm like, I'm sorry for doing it live. It's just I was just so shocked when I came to me. I was like, oh my god. It's funny. We're
Because
talking
you're
about
not usually that guy. You're
no,
not usually
not.
I
I
I'm
usually
gonna
get
give you
mad.
slack because it was you. I'm gonna give it a little slack because it was you. But sometimes when I see people do that, I'm like, fuck's sake, why you got kill the whole
I
like
know.
this?
I
But
usually get mad when people do that. I'm like, it's not what they're talking about. Everything
I
else.
didn't see you do it,
Uh,
and it would, and because it was you, I'm gonna cut you some slack.
I appreciate that. Of course, we're talking about the sadly untimely passing of Carl Weathers. As far as Amanda goes, a great grief carga, but as far as I'm concerned, like every hero growing up, um, obviously knew him best from Rocky, Action Jackson, Predator, Happy Gilmore. I will say, yeah, because I saw it and I just threw it in the chat. So I was actually watching the live stream when it popped up into my feed, and I ended up texting a bunch of people. I texted Ben and Andrew, and they're like, "Fuck no!" I texted Christian. All Christian wrote back was Christian Harloff. It goes, "Oh no!" Like
Mhm.
it's all like everybody the same response because it's so true. Like he was such. It felt like such a surprise. I mean, the guy was 76. It's not old, not like super old, but also not like super young either. So it's not like this was he lived a full life. But it just, I think the difference was even though as a 76-year-old man, he still felt like he was 30, 25. Like he had such a vibrancy to him, such a life to him, such an energy to him. It's hard to imagine that all of a sudden one day he's here and the next day he's not. But this one really, really hurt because I mean, celebrities pass all the time. Sometimes I see them and think, "Oh, that sucks. Oh, that's sad. Oh, I like to remember them." But sometimes they really dig deep, and that's why I don't really text people when it happens. I was texting everybody, going, "Oh my god, can you believe this?" Um, and we got some great tributes from from Katie, from Giancarlo Stanton, of course, from all the cast of Mandalorian. A great video from Sylvester Stallone. That broke me down again. Even Gina Carano put out a great, wonderful tribute to him and everything else. He just touched everybody. My favorite one, though, I got to say, and Ken actually brought this up on Force Center. Same one I saw was Lucas. I can't remember the guy's name either. He tweeted out he was a Lucasfilm employee, and it was on Mando, and he went to the craft table, and he put together. He goes, "I saw cookies there. I saw an ice cream." And I just grabbed a dash of ice cream and put it between two cookies. And what do I hear from behind me? Someone belling out, "Ice cream sandwich!" And turn around, and sure enough, it was Carl Weathers. Because he just has this vibrancy to him, this living energy to him. And what a legend for everyone in the community. I mean, he was never like the A-list actor, but he was always just one of those people that added such energy to a film, energy to a show. You loved watching him when you knew what you're going to get. And the fact that even in his 70s, he's learning new crafts. He directed several Star Wars shows, several of the Mando shows. And people have said, like Ahmed Best had a great tribute to him, talking about how Carl Weathers like really calmed him and put him at ease when he was struggling with returning to Star Wars, like nervous about returning to the Star Wars universe. Um, love this man so much. I'm so sad we're not going to get to see him anymore. Um, and not seeing him in Mando is, of course, it's not as important as just losing this man in general. But from both sides of the thing, I wish we could see him on screen more. Wish we could have him in our life more. 'Cause he's just everything I could see. Genuinely good dude, means so much to everybody, and just yeah, I'm heartbroken by this one.
There are only two people that their deaths have made me cry as hard, and that's Muhammad Ali and Chester Bennington.
Mm, mm,
And it's because I felt like I lost. You lose someone who's like not either you're just a fan of, but like the reason as a kid I got walked into our local boxing gym was because of him and Sly. Because I was a little kid shadow boxing in front of my granddad's mirror and using his arm as a heavy bag. It's just someone who was one of, I guess, three people who shaped my entire life. I don't get into fighting without Rocky, without, and it's just as much him as it is Sly. And I know this is a Star Wars podcast, but fuck that. He's always going to be Apollo Creed to me. I know he had more of a career, but that man is Apollo Creed to me.
mm-hmm.
And that was like, I didn't quite understand at the time, but like, I would root for him because he was the champ. You know, he was like the big, brash, like
Larger than life.
He was the man. He was the champ, and I was always like, yeah, you root for the champ. You want the champ to win.
Right.
And that is when like I kind of learned more about Rocky's an underdog story. But like, I felt like I lost a pillar of my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I do.
Fighting is so much a part of my life. As much as I try to push away from it, it's been part of my life for so long, like since I can remember. And see that, I'm still not over it. It still fucks with me.
I get it. I get it.
Because it takes me back to those times when I was like, it just takes me back. It makes me think of those times when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like a little kid, just like watching him doing he even does like the Ali shuffle.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah.
Just thinking of when I would like try to do that in the mirror and like try to be like him. And I was just like, and I'm so fortunate that at Celebration Anaheim, I got to tell him that.
That's amazing.
Like one of my first gloves from my first interclub, or smoker as you call them, is downstairs signed by Carl
Great.
Weathers. Ugh. And like,
What did he say? What did he say when you told him that?
he looked gobsmacked, and
Yeah.
and I just told him, I was like, I don't think you understand like the level of, I think, because maybe, I don't know, like he had, like, I don't want to say a dip in his career, but like you said, he was never an A-list
Right. Right.
guy. And I was just like, dude, my life is the way it is because of you and Sly.
It's powerful. It's really powerful.
And like he signed the thing, and he called me champ, and I was just like, you are calling me champ? I get that it's a fictional character, but like that was my first like exposure to that. Like someone like that, larger than life. Like he was the man. He had the suits, he had the car, and like the mansion, and that the swagger, the bravado. I was like, that is what a champion looks like. And I get a lot of it was like based off of like Muhammad Ali, but I'm in no way comparing him to Muhammad Ali. God no, I never would. It got me. I couldn't. I could barely, like, I didn't want to text anyone. I didn't want to talk about it. Like I messaged a few people, and I was just like, I'm fucking struggling with this. But what a life that dude lived.
Oh, so what did he say
I
about?
was listening to the Force Center episode, and I text Ken, and I was like, dude, you help me like come to grips with this.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Ken is also somebody I texted after. I actually texted him after the podcast, like, "I'm sorry I did that. I didn't mean to do that." He laughed and said it's not a big deal, and he mentioned like, yeah, he was just there through all the things, all of our things, like right in our wheel. But actually, Bateman put it best too when he said, he goes, "This is a guy."
God, yeah.
Ben said he was in our wheelhouse. He was our wheelhouse because like that, he just hit everything we love. And I want to touch base. Really, you mentioned Apollo Creed, and like that's one of the best things about those movies is Apollo Creed is like the antagonist, but he's never been a villain. He was never a villain in the story. He was actually a good person. He had to play the villain in Rocky 2 in order to get Rocky to fight again, the kind of thing. Even like they had that conversation. Like, you got to go to him. You got to do it. He didn't really want to do it because he's not a bad guy. He's just this is part of the business. But yeah, he was a very he was magical, man. He was definitely magical. Like I mean, a couple of scenes are going to hit harder now. Of course, I mean, Rocky 4, when Sly gives the funeral, the eulogy for Apollo Creed hits a lot differently now. Actually combining it with the Sylvester Stallone video we did, and in a fun and like I don't want to say funnier sense, but hell, watching Happy Gilmore scene Chubbs in Heaven is going to hit a little harder this next time as well.
I mean the scene the first one I went and watched was the scene in Rocky 3 where he's sparring with Rocky, and Rocky, like, he's whooping Rocky's ass, and he's like, he's hooking, damn Rock, come on. And Rocky's just like, we'll do it tomorrow, and he goes, there is no tomorrow there, and he says it 4 times. He goes, there is no tomorrow, there is no tomorrow. And I'm just like, ain't that the fucking truth?
Yeah,
Because if we could lose someone like that, shit, man, it just puts everything in perspective. And I'm like, I'm sorry to like put a downer on the show, but like
no, not at all.
I tried not to. I was like, look, this dude meant a shitload to me, and he
Give
did
me
a
your
lot of people. I'm not the only one, dude. There's so many people that like start boxing because of Rocky. Just like
absolutely.
I started MMA because of Bruce Lee. You know, there's so many people. He touched the lives of so many people, and well, the reason I brought up the Anaheim thing was not to boast or brag that I met Carl Weathers. It was like I wanted people to know that, like, I wanted him to know that he had such a profound
Right.
effect on my life and so many other people's lives. Like, there's a reason I wear a boxing glove necklace.
Get it, man. I get it. And you never have to apologize for that. Give me your truth. I'd rather have the honest, emotional truth than any kind of showy whatever. I mean, give me your truth. And so I think I speak for all of our viewers.
I try to be real on these things, man. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm not the best at like expressing my emotions unless I'm streaming them into a microphone. But
that was pretty good. You're just pretty good right there. So don't sell yourself short.
I just want to say, like, he is the fucking man. And like, it's probably gonna be a while before I can watch the Rocky movies again.
Yeah,
but
that's a good point. That's a good point.
It's probably gonna be a while before I can watch Mandalorian again.
Totally got it. I totally understand. Yeah, I mean, this one definitely, like I said, has someone heard a lot. I can only remember like the last time that anyone came close to this was when David Bowie passed. For me, I would say Freddie, but if I'm honest, I wasn't a big Queen fan until right around the time Freddie passed and a little bit after Freddie passed, honestly. So it didn't really hit me the same way. Like if Freddie had lived and died now, that would have been the same kind of thing for me. But yeah, we're getting to that age. I mentioned that to like I think it was Ken. I think it was Ken. Other people. A couple people I had this conversation with. We are starting to get to that age, me even more than you. Like I'm 47 myself now. I'm starting to lose a lot of my heroes. Like it's starting to get to the point where they're leaving us. And what I mentioned with PJ is that it's kind of, it feels strange, but we came from a different time where people had a better chance of connecting with you like a Carl Weathers did. Like now we don't have movie stars now. Like really, there's no real like Tom Cruise, the last of a kind of that kind of thing. Maybe Brad Pitt, maybe Leo, but like there's not as many movie stars out there. It's all about the IP. It's all about the show, whatever. So we don't have these connections with these people. But like we're gonna start losing these people left and right. I mean, Harrison Ford is in his 80s, John Williams in his 90s. And I hate, like, I don't want to throw things out there like that. There's a shade out there, but it's kind of like.
It's possible, man. It's a reality that we have to come to terms with. And especially someone like Carl and like, shit, dude, the amount of times like he would interact with people online, like he would like or repost Brian Ward, and seeing something like that, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, that was wonderful because that's the way he was like. I mean, it's a stupid cliched quote, but a man of the people. He was just a man, like he just loved people. Like seeing him at Celebration. I didn't see him at Celebration, but like just watching the stream, watching his being there for the interviews, he was like the mayor.
What was that like? Because to be in that room with him coming out then.
So magnetic when he came out. He was just magnetic. Your eyes were drawn to the screen. I'm watching it. I couldn't turn away. A lot of times I was watching the streams. I'd be like doing something and I'd go back and forth. He came on. I stopped what I was doing. And I was leaving the screen because I knew he was going to be a fun watch. And there's not many people like that, man. There's not many people that command that presence like that. Yeah. What a downer, but what a great man, what a great legend, and I hope you rest in peace, my Carl. We definitely miss you already, and we will miss you. But thank you for what you've given us, for sure. All right, to go from
right now, let me feel better by fucking clowning on someone.
We got some sad news to some sad news in a different way. Let's get it out there. Okay, so it is out there. Gina Carano has filed a lawsuit
funded by Elon Musk.
Funded by the one and only, that's the nicest way I can say that.
Fuck for that.
Elon Musk, suing Disney and Lucasfilm over wrongful termination suit. Star Wars News actually has the document on there. You could you actually read the whole document, which I did. I will throw out there Carano. It claims that Carano's firing was announced via statement to the press before the MMA fighter turned actress was informed. And it mentioned that they had promised her roles in The Mandalorian. Further in The Mandalorian, they specifically, interestingly enough, they confirmed not that this was ever a really hidden secret, but we all knew that she was going to be leading the Rangers in the New Republic series, or she's going to be a lead in that, and that was canceled. She promised to be one of the leads of that, which would have meant compensation of $150 to $250K per episode. Instead of the 25K, she was making a Mandalorian as a guest star. That went away. And she was also going to be involved in a new series of Star Wars movies based on the various Disney Plus series, like including the newly announced Mandalorian and Grogu. Carano's team seeks Disney and Lucasfilm to reinstate her to her prior position with no loss of pay or benefits, a judgment declaring her termination was unlawful, compensatory damages of at least $75,000, compensatory damages for the loss of future employment, an amount to be determined at the trial, emotional distress damage, punitive damages, attorney's fees, and further relief deemed just by the court, and a trial by jury. So I'm going to set this up now. I'm going to let you. I see you're pumping up. You're getting all pumped up. Let you clown away on her, and then I'm going to seek to have a balanced discussion as only I can try to do. And I set that up only because I want to make something very clear before this happens. Matty and I are on the same side of this. We're on the correct side. I'm not going to say right side because it has the wrongful meaning. It's the correct side of this. But I always want to be someone who provides a very balanced viewpoint and to say everything that's out there so we can have an honest conversation about it. Otherwise, we can sit here and have a lot of fun just kind of clowning on her. But at this point, I want to get both sides. Let's see what we can discuss. Matty, I leave the floor to you for now.
First off, as my therapist has often told me, I'm going to start with love. I have great respect for the career of Gina Carano, what she accomplished in the sport of MMA, and transcending above a sport that was not intended for women. She became its first biggest star before Ronda. A lot of people forget that before Ronda was Gina. And she was the first to transcend out of a sport that a lot of people still to this day deem as human cockfighting. She was the first female star. So I want to start by saying I have the utmost respect for her career. Her partner, Kevin Ross, is someone who I have admired for a long time as well. To compare being a Republican to Jews in Nazi Germany, what the fuck goes through your mind? How do you pull those two comparisons? I have friends who are Republican. They even said that was just no. Like, some people, I when it first happened, I really wanted to think she's just like saying something to get attention. But then slowly over time, when she starts talking to people like Ben Shapiro, and she starts talking to like getting into business with people like Elon Musk and Alex Jones, I was just like, not even angry. I was just disappointed in someone that like I had so much respect for. And I'm just like, it's the complete opposite of the Carl Weathers thing. Like, when someone you respect turns out to be just and this is my words, not Paul's, nothing to do with the channel. This is my opinion, just getting out there. When someone you respected just turns out to be a complete piece of shit. Did you read the filing that they put?
I read the whole document, yes.
It reads like a Star Wars crawl. A judge is going to laugh that out of the court. That you're presenting that to a judge. You're gonna get fucking laughed out of the room. I'm sorry, but you are. Like, you're writing it like, oh, the evil Disney empire. And let me tell you, I'm not a Dana White apologist. I'm not a fan of the man at all. I, again, respect what he's done for the company that he's built. He's a little bit of monopolistic, whatever the fucking word is. Yeah. I love how her case is pretty much hinging on her being a woman. And she's being treated this way, not only because she's a Republican and she voiced certain opinions, which there's having opinions and then there's just being flat out fucking stupid. When Dana White came out, and this was before Ronda Rousey, this was before Ronda or anything. This is when it was the two companies with the UFC and Strikeforce. Gina was the champion of the low MMA history for you guys. Gina was the champion of Strikeforce. She was like the big women's star. Dana White came out and said, women will never fight in the UFC. I don't want women fighting. Like, completely derogatory shit. And everyone was like, why not? Like, she's doing it in this other organization. Why not you? Because Dana White's a chauvinist, at the time, seemingly a chauvinistic piece of shit. She didn't have a word to say then.
Right.
When the UFC wouldn't sign her because she was a woman.
Right.
Not a word. She just like, okay. But she's doing it now. When it's Disney. When, she actually has more money to gain from this. I'm just years. It's clown behavior. Like, are Elon's lawyers trying to take me out or something? For those of you who just know, I just had a little bit of a tech glitch, so if there's a little bit of a change here, like, I think Elon and Gina's lawyers are trying to take me out as well.
Could be.
I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a guy. I don't know. But yeah, dude, it's just the way that the document is worded to me just says you are not taking this shit seriously. You are just she knows that she's probably gonna lose this, but fuck it. Let me get in the headlines. Let me just grab whatever attention. I think she's even doing like a movie that's being funded by Ben Shapiro's production company. I think I read
she did at one point, and yeah, did not do very well, I believe.
I imagine it did, but
I will say, for someone who's espousing of the or leading on the "Go Woke" or "Go Broke" campaign, she's trying very hard to get back into the "Go Woke and Get Broke" business, as it were, because she went unwoke and got broke real quick.
Here's my thing: if she does win, she's not counted for this, right? If she does win, and they do recast her, they don't have to fucking use her.
Well, that is actually a big part of the question. I have a rebuttal to you to a degree, and I'm not about my beliefs, but I do want to touch base on that. Is like, I don't understand. It seems like I don't know if this ever been done before like this. I don't know how a judge or anybody can say, okay, you have to rehire her and put her in this role. Like, what is the stipulation going to be? I mean, pure money, sure, that's something they can do in courts all the time. They could technically put her on the books and pay her, but I don't know that how can a judge or any kind of even legal system declare, all right, Disney, you have to use this character now. Like, they can't dictate the art of it to a degree. It's like I don't get it. I don't understand how that worked. I mean, like, are they going to all of a sudden announce, like, it's funny how one of the responders, by the way, from her tweet, the worst part was even her tweet. It was like the people responding to her who were,
of course it was.
God. One of them is saying they couldn't wait for Lucasfilm to have to quietly announce that she's returning from Mando and quietly re-announce that New Rangers of New Republic were back in production. And like, I don't know. I don't think they can do that. I mean, quite frankly, I think you could have Dave Filoni or somebody write a quick one cartoon panel for StarWars.com that says, and and Cara Dune went home to Alderaan. That's right, Alderaan doesn't exist anymore. Exactly. It's like a thing, and that's it. And then the character's done anyway at that point. I mean, they left her open. I understand why they left her character. They didn't want to touch that, so they kind of just like, she's off doing a mission kind of thing. But they absolutely could easily write her off in a quick panel, and then she's not around. Like, I don't know how you can dictate that. Furthermore, I will say I also don't know how they can dictate. Like, she mentioned one of the key things of her argument was that she was fired. I don't know again, we don't know the ins and outs of her deal, her contract, whatever they
Mm.
had. But I have a hard time believing that it could hold up too much in court if they said, "Oh, we're going to have you in season 3," and then change their mind. I don't think that can be disallowed. She was offered roles in the Mandalorian movie or in Rangers of the New Republic, but then they decided to cut ties with the whole thing. It's not like it's not like Rangers of the New Republic is going on. It's like they actually took the show. I mean, so does that open the door for anybody who was, well, you know what, Disney promised me a role in this new series. Well, they decided not to do the new series. Hey, they promised me the role, so I got to get paid for it. And there's no contract in place. It actually specifically even says in the complaint there was no contract. So like, I know there is some grayness to the oral contract and the oral word. I don't know the ins and outs of that. So
in California, there ain't.
Is that what it is? I don't know.
No.
Again, that's too, and that's where they filed, was in California, federal court in California, which I think was a mistake by Gina Carano's team, potentially.
Well, you know they wanted it in Texas.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, no, because they filed the injunction. I don't think they. It's not like they filed it somewhere and then it got moved. Like they filed it in California federal court. I don't know. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know much about law, so there's a lot of weirdness going on. But let me digress.
For the legal. You ever see his channel?
No, I've never seen that channel.
He's a guy that like he goes through. He's doing a lot of stuff at the minute on the Trump cases, but he'll also do like he broke down Top Gun Maverick from a legal perspective. He's done like Better Call Saul. He did the courtroom scene in My Cousin Vinny, and he said it was the most accurate legal proceeding he's ever seen on film.
Nice.
But I'd love to see him do something like that. Anyway, continue, because I believe you're about to play devil's advocate.
I am going to kind of play devil's advocate to a degree. So a lot of our space, and you included it, I'm not like, this is not an attack on anybody, just so you know, have people like, oh, they're laughing it off, and it's like, oh, this is ridiculous, they're going to lose, they're going to laugh out of court, yada, yada, yada. And I sat back, and I wanted to look at this at a more like, not that you're over emotional, but that's
impartial
or emotional. I was gonna try to I want to take a look at it and see what I see if I didn't have the biased viewpoint that I have. I think we're in for a fight. I think there's a bigger fight than you can know of for a couple of reasons. And I'll break this down first. First of all, we're not living in a society anymore, unfairly or fairly, whatever, that's based on right versus wrong. We are based in a society of politicizing everything. And now it's not right versus wrong, it's right versus left. So quite frankly, first off, it depends on what judge we get. If there's a conservative judge, they're going to use this to make a statement, to make this a political thing. And you get a very right-leaning judge, they're going to say, yep, wrongful termination, Disney went woke. It'll say it in more political terms.
Oh God, if that's in the judge's findings, oh my God.
And Gina Carano was unfairly terminated, give her all the money, and I could even see them trying to push Disney into rehiring her and putting her into a movie dictating art. And that'll be another battle a long time away. But 5, 6, 7 years ago, I would have said, no way this is even possible. But I lived through Donald Trump's presidency and what's going on now. And after everything that Donald Trump had, what happened with
I almost moved there during Donald Trump's presidency.
And everything that went down, and he's been accused, he's been through trials of rape, of insurrection, not through trials of insurrection, but there's been legal battles all around everything. And guess what? He is still going to be running for president again. This is the country. This is the society we live in. There's no right versus wrong at this point. There is no morally right thing. This is a case of right versus left. And if you get a conservative leading judge, you get a conservative jury, Disney's going to be in a battle. Now, quite frankly, Disney's going to want to settle this out of court because they're not going to want to put this in front of everybody. That's for even if they're right, even if they believe wholeheartedly they did the correct thing, they're not going to want to battle this in court. Secondly, Gina Carano wants to put this in court. She wants this, and Elon Musk for sure wants this on public record.
She's going to be pushing for this to be televised.
I don't think she's going to settle out of court because, first of all, she honestly doesn't need the money. She has money, from what I've heard, gathered from people. Her parents were rich. She's made enough money on her own. She's got enough notoriety. She's got Elon Musk backing her financially for as far as the court cases, as far as the lawsuit itself goes. She has no reason. She has no reason to settle this out of court. And you said it best too, UFC. She's a fighter. That's all she knows how to. That's what she knows how to do. She's a fighter.
Don't
She
give her too much credit on that part.
Does she know how to back down?
She did versus Chris Cyborg. But that's whatever.
You know what I'm trying to say, though. She's the kind of person who's
Yes.
gonna like. She is going to be someone who's going to want to fight.
She is.
And it's just, this is probably going to court. So what's going to happen then? Then I looked at the specificness of it. And from an impartial side, when it comes down to some of her arguments, she argued about her tweets. Now, she is trying to make this straw man argument about she's doing a very, actually, well, I didn't really specifically say this. We know what was implied by your tweets. We know what
It wasn't
you were
even the
trying to
tweets,
say.
it was the Instagram post where she flat out said it.
There was mostly the tweet about the this is being she basically wasn't comparing a Republican to being hunted by the Nazis. She was saying anybody who has a different view. It's a small but subtle difference what she's leaning her hat on. Again, we know what she's talking about, but the way she said it was a little slightly different that she can base the beginnings of the argument on, especially when you comparatively say, let's look at the Pedro Pascal tweet. Pedro Pascal has tweeted stuff that compared MAGA to being Nazis. Same thing. And he continuously did that. If she can prove that he didn't get any kind of consultation, or he didn't get any punishment for it, he didn't get terminated, etc. If she can make enough of a wave about that, like he's right. Trump is more I can say it. I'm not dangerous of losing a job for it. I can say that right now. I feel that way. That's not going to be a thing. But the way he said it versus the way she said it are kind of similar to a point. Because the argument is she was fired due to her political beliefs, which technically in California is something you're not supposed to be able to do. Again, it comes down to right versus wrong, but again, it's more now right versus left. And that is a big distinction. So I would not be surprised, if this gets to court. I think it's going to get to court. And I think this might be a little more of a fight than people think. And can she win? I think she could. I think she actually could win this potentially. I think it'd be a miscarriage of justice. I think it'd be, if she wins, it's not even for the right reasons. It's for the absolute wrong reasons. It's for more politicalizing of this thing. I mean, at the end of the day, what she's laid out, if she can prove what she's laid out, I don't know if, especially a conservative judge, doesn't look at that and say, yeah, she deserves compensation. She deserves that. Because they can also bank it on her. They can't. It's hard to, like I said before, it's hard to bank on the firing thing. But the fact that she lost her representation and everything else because of the statement that Disney put out. And this is the worst part about the Disney statement. If Disney had said, Gina Carano is not contracted. I don't know the exact wording, but Gina Carano is not contracted by Lucasfilm, and there are no plans to work with her again, contract her again for future stories. If they had left it at that, it's fine. But then they went on to talk about how her tweets were, her social media tweeting of denigrating lifestyles, whatever, that was abhorrent and not acceptable to them. That's the part where it becomes, it's just now a libel or slanderous statement that has affected her reputation. Right or wrong. We're not talking about whether she is or not, but the statement, does that hurt her? Because truth isn't always the most important thing in this kind of courtroom, so to speak. I don't know. I just think there's a lot of, I just think there's a lot more to it. A lot of people in our space were like, "This is funny. This is going to be laughed at. This is ridiculous." And this is never. She's. I'm just saying. I don't know if we should be so quick to assume that the righteousness of the case is going to have anything to do with the actual outcome of the case. That is my little devil's advocate point. And it's a sad point to make, and it's a sadder point to sit back and think on. But I have to say, I think it's a realistic potential, something we may have to prepare ourselves for.
So I have been listening to what you said, but a lot of people will see that if you're watching this, that I've been looking now. I've just looked up Disney's code of conduct.
Mm-hmm.
There is a clause that says we respect the right to freedom of information and expression, the freedom of the press, the rights of indigenous people, and intellectual property rights. Our content informs and entertains around the world, and as storytellers, we aim to uplift and inspire and to embrace the spectrum of voices, blah, blah, blah. Hone in on that first bit. We respect the right to freedom of information and expression, the freedom of the press. Hone in on that. Because literally, the segment above, as outlined in our standards of business conduct, we do not tolerate any form of harassment or discrimination on the basis of religion, race, color, sex, sexual orientation, gender, identification, national, social, or ethnic origin, age, marital status, veteran status, disability. It goes on. She was flat out, in violation of that. They have a code of conduct.
Was she?
Yeah.
Says
what she said was downright discriminatory.
Find what she said specifically. We know what she was saying, what she was implying.
Come on, man.
I agree.
I'm not saying you are.
I'm saying I'm looking at it from a court of law perspective. From a court of law perspective. I just don't think it's as slam dunk as we think it is. I just don't think so. I agree with you. I think she did violate that. I think she does violate that. But the way she's been violating it has been a little more, I don't want to say subtle is not the word, but it's a lot more implied thing. And it's also twisted because of the political beliefs of this country and the political beliefs that some people have. Somewhere in that code of conduct, does it mention anything about political party or political ideations or anything like that? I don't know, because that's what she was
saying. Way too long of a fucking document to read.
Because I believe that if I remember, it was in the initial complaint. It said something about, it quoted something about, and they couldn't, terminate or something due to political beliefs or whatever, or being a political party member. If the political party in question is one who has these beliefs or whatever, whether they're not morally is not the issue here at this point. It becomes, well, there is this other side of the coin. Is it morally wrong? Yes. Is it politically wrong though? I don't know. It is, but as far as a court of law goes, as far as a strong, completely impartial side of things, or even let's say lack of impartial, again, it goes back to who's on the judge, who's on the jury. If it's a conservative leaning crew, they don't give a fuck. They're not going to give a fuck. They're going to go down to the hardcore freedom of speech, that she can say what she wants. You have let her say what she wants. She has not said anything that denigrates anybody. She refused to use pronouns. She doesn't have to use pronouns. Refusing to use pronouns is not a transgender slight in the eyes of the court. And yes, we know what she's doing, but what can be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt?
Well, that's up to her to prove it, because if it's a civil case, the burden of proof's on the claimant, 100%. Not the defendant. So her argument better be fucking bulletproof, airtight.
100%. I'm sorry. Go on. The most interesting part for me is the idea of what Pedro Pascal has tweeted. and stuff like that. Again, I agree with a lot of what he tweets, but they're both calling somebody a Nazi. Pedro Pascal isn't getting talked down about this. She is. It, again, right or wrong has nothing to do with it. It has to do with what's the court going to say. I find it fascinating. I'm not going to lie. I think it's shitty. I think it sucks. I think she should just move on and get the fuck out of town. But it is I just don't think it's going to be a slam dunk as we think. It was going to be a slam dunk that we weren't going to have Trump as the Republican Party nomination again. Guess what? Guess who's back? Back again. And I don't mean to be a downer, but I just feel like
no, you're right. You're right. You're right to voice this stuff. A lot of people are saying it. You know, this could get laughed out of the room. I don't think it will get laughed out of the room. I think a judge will read that brief and be very pissed off that they worded it that way, because you're essentially disrespecting the court. If anything, that's probably going to play into, you know, the side of Disney of like, you are not taking this seriously because you have worded this complaint like a Star Wars crawl. So you're obviously not taking this seriously. And this to me smells like someone who, again, much like her previous career, never quite made it to the top. Yeah, it was never cool. She was always bridesmaid, never the bride. It was always Rhonda.
That is something I actually want to touch base on back on the less than devil's advocate side. Is to me like she's saying she lost work, yada yada yada. She's like, oh, they used her name and her likeness to push the Mandalorian. Let's face it, if you look at her filmography, she was never in anything. She had a role in Fast 6. She had a role in something else. I forget what it was. Another movie that was a solid enough movie, but it's not like she was making hit after hit after hit or film. Like she was doing a lot of direct-to-video stuff. I'm not sure whether or not Lucasfilm decided to let her go, whether she was going to have a big career acting-wise or not. She wasn't exactly the greatest actress, let's be honest.
MMA fighters can't act. I used to say this on my old MMA show. MMA fighters can't act. They're fucking terrible. Look at the movies Ronda's been in. Awful. Right. Look at the what is it, Den of Thieves with Michael Bisping. Awful. Terrible. She's we're good for one thing. That's it. This to me just smells like she's clutching at straws to get any form of A, attention, B, a paycheck. And by all means, if she does win, hire her back. Doesn't mean they have to use her.
Hey, that would be the next step. Let's see. You have a lot of steps to go. But you know what? I'm fucking done talking about this. I don't want to waste any more space on this. When we put it out there, I hope it does get laughed out of court, and I hope we never hear from it again. I hope this is another thing. Clean taste out of mouth. Let's talk about some good stuff in Star Wars. Especially because today, I don't know if you knew this or not, it is Star Wars Podcast Day. We are releasing an episode on Star Wars Podcast Day, February 7th. So happy Star Wars Podcast Day to you, my friend.
Happy Star Wars Podcast Day to you.
So let us break down one of our favorite characters that's going to reach her return in the
broken
Bad
down
Batch.
Once on this show already. Don't make me do it twice.
Different kind of breakdown. We're breaking out a character this time. Asajj Ventress, of course, has been she was a Legends character, and then she became a very famous animated character in the Star Wars canon as well. We've seen her in Clone Wars. We've seen her obviously in books and comics. And now we are going to see her again. We never get to see her in live action, although she did get a mention in live action in the live action Ahsoka series. We did get to see Hayden Christensen saying Asajj Ventress, which kind of blew my mind a little bit, like a small mind blow.
I've had the perfect fan cast for her for so long.
Interesting.
And I don't know how she would look with a bald cap, but Zhang Ji, who was in Crouch, she was Jade in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Okay, I know you're talking about. Yep, I know you're talking about. Mm-hmm. That would be a good casting.
That's the one.
Very, very.
Well, I don't think she's acting anymore. I think she's. I don't know what she's doing. I don't think she's. I haven't seen her in anything, and I watch a lot of Asian cinema. I don't think she's been in anything for a long time.
Right. So maybe I don't know. That could be. I have to look it up. I mean, I have not heard of her in a long time, so it could be.
We'll get Michelle Yeoh to do it.
Yeah. Well, Michelle Yeoh can do anything. She can, as far as I'm concerned. So
Damn, she
I'm
could.
thinking about that. Absolutely, she could. But either way, last time we had best of tech. We're going to do a little bit of best of Asajj a little bit, but we should talk about some of her characterizations. Where did you first see her? What was your
I
first
first saw
interaction with
her
her?
in the Tarkovsky,
Yep.
the Clone Wars. That was the first time I saw her. I was like, who the hell is this?
Right.
She looked cool. Like she had the double red light. Like she had the 2 red lightsabers. I was like, you're cool.
You know what? I'm going to spoil her. That's where I saw her too. But if you look at my best of moments, one of my 5 best of moments, it is from that Tarkovsky Legends series, of course, the Micro series. Her battle with Anakin was one of my top moments of that entire Clone Wars Micro series run. The little twinge of Duel of the Fates played. They had the lightsaber battle within the rain. And she, of course, fell that big gap, and we kind of thought she might have been dead. And I was like a little disappointed that was all we were going to get from her. But then she came back stronger. So, interestingly enough, she was part of Attack of the Clones brainstorming. They were looking for a design of a apprentice for Palpatine. Eventually, obviously, became Count Dooku by Christopher Lee. But they had a lot of different ideas. They were going to look that way. And one of the design. They were talking about Dermot Power had made the sketch kind of like a samurai version of a apprentice, a female samurai. It's in the Art of Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones book, of course. And her name, by the way, do you know what her original name was going to be?
I do not.
Juno Eclipse was going to be her original name. And they changed it because Juno didn't sound villainy enough. So they went with Asajj Ventress. They changed it to Ventress.
I'm not a fan of that name. Asajj Ventress strikes fear into my heart more.
Absolutely. Well, Asajj also has from Akira Kurosawa's Throne of Blood is the character Asajj there. That's where she's named after. But yeah, she was in a bunch of different things as well. I know initially in Legends, she was going to die in the Labyrinth of Evil book, which was, of course, one of that trilogy, that kind of like trilogy they made of books. Like, it was kind of what a weird trilogy. After all these years, it still feels weird. I don't
remember that one.
Awesome. It's the trilogy was Labyrinth of Evil, Revenge of the Sith, and The Rise of the Dark Lord. It was like the Labyrinth of Evil was like the just before Episode 3 book by Lucino. But she wasn't in it. That was what she going to be in, but she actually, unfortunately, did not. She ended up dying in a comic book called Obsession, but even then that was retconned later on because they kind of wanted to bring her back again potentially. It was kind of a long-term scenario with the Clone War. When they wanted to bring her back for the Clone Wars, they decided we're not going to have her die there. We're going to change our mind. So see there, guys, by the way, they've changed their mind on her death 3 times already. So we never know what's going to happen with this whole thing.
I remember she was in what was that Yoda book? Dark Rendezvous.
I think it was yes. I believe she was. Yeah, Dark Rendezvous was that. She was in the Count Dooku. Wow.
Oh yeah, Dooku Jedi. She was. I would go as far as to say she was more of the main character in Dooku Jedi Lost because a lot of it was like told from her perspective, and it really like shone a light on the relationship between her and Dooku. Kind of like a weird, almost Stockholm syndrome, but without the falling in love part.
Right. Yeah, it was just kind of this weird like relationship that they had.
Because she was a Jedi, she was an apprentice, and she had a master. So I think she always like grew up yearning for that again. She wanted that someone to be there, and it was kind of like he's there. I know why he wants me around because he wants to use me as his assassin. But having someone like that is better than being on my own.
100%. Yeah, no, 100%. She is also in that Dark Rendezvous book as well. I want to put that out there. Yeah, and they're probably comic books a lot. What I love about the character in general, and we'll after this we'll break into our best of parts of it. Um, she actually had for a character who wasn't. I don't want to say she wasn't in a whole lot. She's never been like a main character. She led some Clone Wars episodes and everything else, but she's not like a main character in the storyline. She's always kind of a supporting role. But she had a big arc. She had this arc of a young Padawan or youngling Padawan kind of situation that
Mm.
falls the dark side after the death of her master. She becomes like a Sith assassin, not a Sith. She wants to become a Sith. She becomes that kind of character that
Becomes an
perhaps
acolyte.
she was an acolyte, and Dooku wants to train her to replace so that Dooku and Asajj would possibly be these Sith lords taking out Palpatine. Palpatine doesn't allow that. She sees her coming on too strong, and he knows Anakin's coming on, so he has Dooku cut ties with her. Then we get to see her like really break herself down, going back to the Night Sisters, trying to become a bounty hunter, trying to find her place, getting a certain amount of redemption to a degree, never really fully getting that redemption for the galaxy, but at least in her own heart, she knew where she was. She'd kind of returned to her own side of things. Never a light side. She's always just almost too broken to be light side at any point. But with Quinlan and the Dark Disciple book, where it ends as of now, of course, we don't know how she's coming back or whatever, or if she is even coming back, given your theory that this is all a flashback and Bad Batch. And I still
So
think you may be on to. I think you might be on. I think you might be onto something there. If that's the case, and Dark Disciple is her favorite, is her really where her last words are. She kind of definitely made a return arc that is very different than the other return arcs. It's not like an Anakin redemption arc where Anakin becomes the light side again and he's still the hero. It's a very interesting take on redemption. Redemption's always been a big Star Wars thing. It's always been a big slice of Star Wars. Anakin, Ben Solo, and Asajj to a degree. But as a smaller character, it's kind of interesting to see where they can take her. And they took her in a lot of different cool places. I honestly think we could have gotten more from her. We could have gotten a great Asajj comic book run. We still could because the always jumps back and forth between things at all times. You can get a Asajj comic book run from after she left. After she left the Night Sisters, her as a bounty hunter, did a whole run like that. Her after the stuff with Ahsoka and when Ahsoka was framed in that whole arc, and she was involved in that. There's a lot of places you could take her and still could take her. But you know what? Why don't we talk about some of our favorite ones? I already mentioned my first one, the Anakin one in the Tartakovsky Clone Wars micro series. What about you? Which one of your first best moments of Ahsoka Asajj?
Where do I begin? Got so many. I mean, the one that kind of sticks out a lot to me is I mean, I guess I could kind of put it out into an umbrella of just like her general flirtiness with Obi-Wan to the point where several times I have thought, are those two hooked? Because you watch the two of them and you're just like, just get it over with.
You're not wrong.
Try to kill each other after, but there's just like, I don't know if there's like a certain level of respect between the two of them. But if you're flirting with me while you're trying to kick my ass, like
you're speaking your language there.
You are speaking my language. But it seems like there's that kind of I don't want to say cockiness, more like a confidence to her that she can go toe to toe, and she can go toe to toe with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, and just be like, whatever, I can match you with a saber, and I can flirt with you while I'm doing it.
Yeah, she fought them both at the same time at one point. It was still kind of holding her own, but still flirting and being that way. I kind of feel like if this was more, I mean, we always said the Clone Wars was not a kiddie show, and it wasn't. It definitely had some adult moments. But if it was more of an adult show, I don't be surprised if we'd see Obi-Wan and Asajj have a few moments of downtime together. Let's put it that way.
Mm,
So I agree with you. It's been that's kind of the running. I don't think we need to see it, but I kind of like the fact that it's kind of teased. It's still kind of teased. It's definitely teased.
mm.
Um, I like that. I like that aspect of it. And I
Especially
agree.
because in Dark Disciple, he's actively telling Quinlan to flirt
Watch
with her.
out. Yeah,
Like
but
he's the
watch
one
out.
pushing Quinlan to flirt with her,
Right.
and I'm just like, bro, just get it over with.
Right. Right. I agree. I agree. It's pretty funny that when you say it that way, but it's one of my favorite aspects of her personality
Mm,
is that she is able to use her sensuality and her sexuality uh, in a way that we don't often get to see in Star Wars, especially outside of Twi'lek, I should say.
yeah,
She's a bad girl. She's a bad girl that way. It works
and
out
like
for everybody.
her image as well. You wouldn't. It's quite striking, and
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't expect it to come from a character
Right.
that looks the way she does.
Right. Absolutely. Um, all right, moving on to my next one is kind of related. Although the movie itself was a little maligned, still to this day, the Clone Wars movie. I think a lot of people have gone back to the Clone Wars movie and look on it a little more fondly because of what it led to. We all love Ahsoka. We all love Ahsoka now. We all mostly did not like Ahsoka when we first got and met her. That was kind of the thing. Even Dave Filoni knew that was going to happen. There's a lot of cringe moments. They're kind of still definitely finding their ground. Obviously, just a couple episodes they slapped together as a movie, so it wasn't really a movie. But when you go back now after 7 seasons and you see everything, you're like, okay, I can see the good part, but there's still some cringe moments here and there. But Asajj was one of them. Asajj was a highlight in the very first film. She right away we knew who she was. The whole battle on Test with Anakin, and it said it declared right away this is who this character is. She flirts with him a little bit. She holds her own against him. She runs away. She runs away, of course. But she makes a statement that way, and then she follows that up by being the very first villain in the Clone Wars series.
Mhm,
The first episode is Ambush with Yoda and the clones, and Asajj on the other side directing traffic, so to speak. Um, so right there, she has established herself as being one of the main villains of the series at that time. And sure, it makes sense because you can only do so much with Palpatine in the animated series because Palpatine's off doing his movie thing. Dooku a little bit doing his movie things. You know he can't die. Asajj is always kind
mhm,
of be there because she could have died at any moment. The stakes were there for her character. We didn't have an outcome for her as far as we knew at this point. So it's always nice to have that kind of character that is expendable to a degree, and yet she's such a good character that you don't want to see her go. And she proved
mm.
herself that way. So yeah, Clone Wars movie and Into Ambush is one of my second favorite moments or part of the Asajj Ventress storyline. What about you? What's next on your list, my friend?
Feel bad because mine's kind of like my next one's also kind of just like elaborating on my horniness for Asajj Ventress.
Fair, okay,
The
all right,
moment where she kisses the clone cat, I think it's Captain Colt. I think
okay,
she
yes, I think I know what you're
kisses
talking about.
Captain Colt and then stabs him through with the lightsaber.
Which,
I
if
was
I
just like,
remember correctly, I think that was actually deleted out of the television version
was it
initially
really?
for being too racy for content. I think they
That
put it
is
back
very
in
racy.
the Blu-ray. I think it might be streaming now on Disney Plus. I think you can see it the original the way you saw it now. I believe I might be wrong on that, but there was something I remember was something similar to that something like that happened and they had an issue with it, but
Hmm.
they
I
changed their
just,
mind on it.
I just remember seeing that and just like thinking she's got this like almost femme fatale
Right?
quality to her.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you don't see that a lot, if anything
Right.
at all, in Star Wars. Like
Right.
the women are like quite noble to like Padme or Leia. They're very like respectable and like upstanding, noble people. And then you've got Asajj Ventress making out with a clone captain and then stabbing him through like mid smooch. It's
Yeah.
just like,
It's it's like character defining for her in a way. Like you're horned just for her side. That's kind of part of her deal. That's part of her deal. She's evoking the response you are. I mean, it's the 12, 13-year-old boy just discovering themselves. That's what the characters partially. That's what they lead for.
She definitely was an awakening. She was definitely an awakening. I will give her that.
It's been an awakening. Have you felt it? We're going a little bit blue here. That's all right. Our next one there. Okay. Next up is the Night Sisters arc. The whole Night Sisters arc when I previously mentioned when Palpatine decided that she was too strong. In retrospect, when I watched it, it almost feels like it comes out of nowhere because we don't see Palpatine reaction to her too much. But when Palpatine gets on board and says, "You know what? She's getting to be too powerful. You need to deal with her. I don't want." Palpatine basically like she's getting to be too good and too powerful. I don't want her to be a person. I don't want her by me at my side because you might decide to take me out with her, and I ain't having that shit. So, Dooku, you're going to prove your loyalty to me, and you're going to take out Asajj Ventress. And he does, but he can't kill her. He tries, but she is able to escape. But beyond that is how she reacts. She goes back to the Night Sisters. You see a person, a broken Sith warrior, come back to her people, to her home, to where she first was a child, and she learned things. And it was just a great breaking down of the character. Let's see what we get to see from her. And she's struggling. She struggles. She wants to belong somewhere. That's the whole part of her character. She wants to belong with the Jedi. She wanted to belong with the Sith, and she never really fully got appreciated by either side, really, as far as she's concerned. I mean, we don't know much about her history with Kynerek, her master, but she didn't quite feel like she belonged. She had too much anger in her, too much hate that she never really got out of. She just wants to find that family, and she thinks like she's found it again, and they just can't leave well enough alone. Palpatine and Dooku and Grievous can't leave well enough alone, but watching her kind of struggle to find herself really sets up. I mean, it is her character. She's always struggling to find herself. It's not really to the end of Dark Disciple that she really has truly found who she is. And I like this is a stepping block along the way. Let's get her out of the Sith, get her out of the Holy genre, because quite frankly, by the time this rolls around, she's seen a few defeats. It's just a far more interesting take to the character than having her just keep doing the same thing over and over again. Now I get to see a different side of things, and it's engaging. I like that part of it.
Yeah, and it also seems kind of like a 2 step forward, 1 step back, because she gets to that point where she goes home and she meets Mother Talzin, and she's kind of I mean, you even have the one part with the where she goes with her 2 sisters to take on Dooku,
right?
But it's like all she can think about is revenge,
right?
Like when they restore her to full health, and she sees the visions of her former master, all she can think about is revenge.
Right.
So it's like she finds that family unit and that the found family and that sense of purpose. But then it goes back to her just being used as a weapon.
Right. Right on. That's unfortunately her lot in life as C-3PO, I would say.
Yeah, it's almost like, I know Freddie Prinze Jr. referred to Darth Maul as Sisyphus. It's almost like the same thing with Asajj. She's always doing to like go up the hill and then just come all the way back down.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's unfortunate for her, and it's very unfortunate for her. But it does make for a hell of a character, though. It does make for a hell of a character. All right. So what else is there as far as best moments go?
I'm trying to think that there was. I'll give this moment.
Okay.
It's on my list. It was going to be like an honorary mention. But the fact that she not only went toe to toe with Obi-Wan and Anakin, but she whooped Luminara Abduli's ass.
Yes, she certainly did.
If Ahsoka hadn't been there, and it just shows us like the level. She's not. She could have been used by Filoni as like a throwaway villain, and I think a lot of people kind of saw her early on as like I guess a C or D tier villain, You had
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Palpatine, Dooku, Asajj,
Right.
but then you see her like take on all these Jedi Masters, and you have to have a level of respect for the character of like she is. It goes back to that confidence of like I don't. It's kill or be killed. It's you or me. One of
Right.
us is
Right.
isn't walking out here. And it goes back to that. All she can think about is doing her master's bidding. That's all she's ever wanted. But
Yeah, she just wants to fit in, to be appreciated.
she's an outcast.
Yeah, absolutely, 100% outcast. That leads in, I guess, a little bit to my next favorite part, which is the episode Bounty. Because once again, it's exactly what we're talking about.
This one with Ahsoka, right?
No, Bounty is the one with Boba Fett when she becomes a bounty hunter.
Oh yeah, yes.
Because like here we are, we as this post Sith, post Night Sisters angle. She really is truly alone now. She doesn't know where to go. She has no master. She has no master on the light side. She has no master on the dark side. She has no master on any side. She doesn't fit in anywhere. She has no family. She can't go to the Jedi. Can't go to Ahsoka or Anakin or Obi-Wan. She can't go to Dooku. She has no Night Sisters. What does she do? Where does she go? She wants to be a loner. She finally decides she almost wants to be alone. But then she gets pulled into this like bounty hunter story with a team of bounty hunters, including a young Boba Fett. But it's here where we kind of see her make that first step towards the light, because she doesn't like what she sees. She finds out. I mean, initially she gets hired, like her doing her bounty stuff as she does, and she's one of the best. She could be easily be one of the best bounty hunters in the galaxy with her skill set, her Sith skill set. But she sees a moment where I see that this guy is buying a young girl who has a love, and Boba Fett has no quandary. He's just doing a job. That's what he does. But Asajj can't quite bring herself to do that anymore because she sees herself in this young lady, this young prince. I believe it's a princess. I could be wrong, but young royalty of the. Well, either way, the character who's kidnapped or whatever. She knows what it's like to be owned by someone, by like Dooku and things of that nature. She just wants to see something thrown out.
She was owned by pirates too, right?
I believe. I want to say potentially at some point she was.
I think she was. I think she was a slave at one point.
I don't know if it's Legends or canon. That's why I can't remember. Sometimes it gets conflated in my mind. But you're not wrong either way. I think there definitely was a run that way. So she sees that and she takes a step and goes, you know what? No, I'm going to free her. I'm freeing her. I don't care about that. I'll take the money. I'm going to take the bounty. She ties up Boba Fett and puts him in a box and then goes off. That's it. Because it's that first step we make towards finding out who am I. I am not a person who's going to see that done to somebody else. And she's not like a good guy about it. She's not like all rah-dah is the right thing to do. Yay, ha, ha. It's all more like, get out of here before I change my mind. But it's that first step. It's an intriguing side to her for sure.
I guess that could also lead into what I think is probably my favorite, other than Dark Disciple, because Dark Disciple to me is just that is her story. That is the one that I would suggest anyone go to.
Right.
Is the arc when Ahsoka has been essentially betrayed by the Jedi.
Yep.
And she's an outcast like Asajj. And Asajj starts out with there's a bounty on Ahsoka's head, and she wants the bounty. She wants to take Ahsoka in. But then they start to converse, and she realizes, like, again, she sees herself in Ahsoka because the Jedi didn't want her. Essentially, like, she's always felt that her master somewhat abandoned her.
Yes.
When she got taken in by the slavers after her master died. And I feel like she's always had that resentment to the Jedi for that.
I agree.
And she sees young Ahsoka now going through the same thing. Because the Jedi weren't there to help her when she was taken. And now the Jedi aren't. Not only are they not helping Ahsoka, they are actively trying to prosecute her for something that she didn't do. And it was that relatability that she was just like, they're doing this again.
Right.
And it's like, I have fought with this girl so many times,
Right.
but I cannot let this institution do this to
Again.
another young woman.
Right. Absolutely. Fully agree with that. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up because it wasn't in my top 5 moments, but like it was one of the
Mm,
ones I wanted to add. So like you adding it
yeah.
gets lets me talk about it, which I love. And another part that I want to mention specifically about that is it also showcases like we see her entire journey, or at least the entire presented journey. So we see things that the Jedi didn't see, Anakin didn't see, Ahsoka didn't see. So when we get to her appearance in there, when she takes Ahsoka for the bounty, and then even more importantly later on after Barriss, or who we find out is Barriss, like knocks her out and frames her
Hmm.
for some things, we know she didn't do it. And it's so frustrating to watch Ahsoka and Anakin turn on her and like not trust her and attack her because in our mind we're like at this point we're invested in seeing her. She's redeeming herself. She's on that right path, and you're pushing her away is going to make her go down the bad path again.
Hmm.
We can understand it from Ahsoka and Anakin's point of view. We know that they haven't seen what we have seen character-wise. In the universe, she is just a Sith assassin who always used to try to kick her ass, was evil. Yeah, she left Count Dooku, but doesn't mean she's not evil. She's still evil. She still
Mm.
killed many people, genocide. You can't trust her to save her, as far as you can toss her.
But in her opinion, the Jedi are evil.
But in her opinion, the Jedi evil. Well, she's not wrong in this aspect, in a way, to be completely honest. So,
Mm.
I agree, but it's a fascinating entry to the character. It's that, in a way, it's great that they did that because it makes the viewer like her even more because we gravitate towards her. We're like, we want justice. We want her to get her due. And God, you guys, you don't see
Mm.
it. You could if you were a true Jedi at this moment, if you opened yourself up to her in a time of need, you could make a difference, and she could become maybe not a hero, but less of a villain, so to speak. She started walking down that path to redemption. It's a beautiful character moment for her. Great moment.
And it's essentially what happens in Dark Disciple. She gets, pardoned for her crimes
Which is
if
a
she's willing to help them.
which actually completely is my next point. That's my fifth moment. It was Dark Disciple as a whole. Exactly that. She really does get a full redemption, even if it is tough for her still. They still struggle. Obviously, Mace struggles with her. Obviously, Anakin struggles with her. Obi-Wan is open to a degree, though, which I love to see because of their unique relationship through the time.
Because
Exactly. And I really, truly, I am a reader and I love books, and this is in no way meant to denigrate books in any way, shape, or form. But God, I wish we could have seen this done in the animated card Clone Wars style. Obviously, this was, if you didn't know,
mm,
Dark Disciple was a Clone Wars, not arc. It was actually 2 arcs of the Clone Wars, 8 episodes of the Clone Wars written into one.
mm,
So it would have been a part 1 and a part 2. It was about Asajj's uh, relationship with Quinlan and the Jedi ordering them to ordering Quinlan to uh, assassinate Count Dooku, and him bringing Asajj on board to help. Uh, some of the
mm.
Jedi don't agree with that idea. Obi-Wan does agree and thinks it's not a bad idea, but definitely warns him to be careful.
He's the
But
one that
that
tries to
whole
save her when Mace gives the order to execute her. Obi-Wan's
yeah,
this like, no,
that's not what the Jedi do.
we promised her we'd help her.
Yep, exactly. It's another reason why you hate Mace. I know. Uh, but I can agree. I agree. At the end of the day, like this is the final redemption. She chooses. We see that something that we kind of always knew, but really didn't get confirmed is she puts a front on. She puts a front on because she's such a scared. She has a lot of fear in her. She's fearful of being broken, rightfully so. She's been broken so many times by so many different people in her life, and here she is, and she finally opens up and chooses to love somebody, chooses to open herself up, be vulnerable to Quinlan. And even Quinlan technically, breaks her a bit through machinations here and there, not necessarily on him. Um, but it becomes a case of, yeah, you know what? If you love, you're going to hurt. But at the end of the day, it's the most powerful force in the universe. And she finally comes to terms with that. So
She does,
yeah.
and she has to come to terms with a lot of people pushed her away, but she was the one that pushed Quinlan to the dark.
Yes. Yes.
It wasn't anyone else. Like, she was the one that was teaching him, running him through all those training exercises on Dathomir, like telling him you can't just touch the dark side, you need to completely give
Embrace
yourself to it.
Yeah.
So she essentially pushed him to move away from her, but then he came right back.
God damn. Powerful stuff, man. And it's probably the best part of her stories, is why I wish we could get it visually. Maybe someday we'll get an adaptation of it, which would be nice.
Yeah.
And it's, to a degree, is the reason why I understand some fans' hesitation about seeing her back in Bad Batch season 3, because it did have, if it's not your theory, if it is, she's actually coming back to life. It is a great ending for her story, where she finally finds love, and it's a tragic ending, of course, but it's a satisfying one for sure for her character. So I understand some people who are hesitant about that side of things. I always say, let it cook, let them cook, let's see what actually happens. But I'm not. I just want to say I'm open to it. I understand what your hesitation is, because I kind of feel a little bit of that myself. But yeah, so what a great moment. Do you have any other further moments with her?
I've run out of horny ones, so no, not really.
Not really. All right. Well, then that should wrap us up this week. We had a nice long show today for you guys. Hopefully,
yeah, I kind of had a little bit of a mental breakdown halfway through the show, so that's my bad, guys.
No bad at all. I'm glad for it. I'm glad you broke down, but I'm glad that it was an honest moment. I was glad to see it. Glad to be there. I'm happy you shared it with us. It's very powerful. So I appreciate that. But yeah, so where can the folks find you? Tell them what you're doing, Matty.
All my social media, right there, under that tag, everywhere. You can find me here every Wednesday and maybe Thursday. They still haven't announced when Bad Batch is going to be on, but you can find me here every week, whenever it is, for Holy Snokes. And you can find my band Mourner, and spelled there. Our brand new song, All or Nothing, is out everywhere now. Response has been fucking mind blowing. I can't even stress how shocked we all are in the camp of just like the record label. Shout out to Josh Grabel. I don't even know if he's watching this, but I'm going to do it anyway. He's the head of the label Trustkill Records. That was the label that I went to when I was young. Like, in the record store, if I saw Trustkill Records sticker on the CD, I was buying it. He added us to their weekly playlist, and I was just like, what?
That is awesome.
Yeah, and we're back in the studio now. Ready to go, ready for more.
Exciting stuff for you, my friend. Exciting stuff for sure. All right. Well, you can find me at Paul_Denuzzi on Twitter. You can find me all over social media, PLD Projects also. You can find us all over this channel. Obviously, every week we do Star Wars podcast with Holy Snokes. Every other week I do review with Lego. We do our podcast on V. We do, PJ and I do two mediocre white dudes on film and the Big Blue Box when appropriate. I also do my Queen podcast on the sister YouTube channel, PLD Products Crown Jewels. I do a playlist on this channel. It's all on the audio feed at this point. And it's a great time for us here at PLD Projects. Subscribers are going up. We're at like 517, 518 now, I think. I hope we're going to keep continuing that. I'd love to get to 1,000 by June. So keep pushing that moment. The sister YouTube channel has over 600 some. I'd love to get that to 1,000 as well. Have double 1,000 subscriber channels. It's really moving in the right direction, slowly but surely. If you want to help out even further, patreon.com/PLD Projects. Austin Goodell, Brandon Buckingham, Jeff Altman have done that. You can join them as well. A bunch of great crew over there. Really couldn't do it without you guys. Really appreciate you. I really appreciate you. Seriously. Love you guys so much. But yeah, if you can't, I get that. Just share us. Throw our faces around the interwebs. Let us know they're here. Let them know we're here. Comment, all that good stuff. But we'll see you next week again. I believe again we're gonna be doing the odds-on Bad Batch predictions, our final predictions as we get ready for the season premiere in 2 weeks, where we're gonna have to break down 3 episodes in one episode. That might be a long episode as well. That might be no news week. That might be just a we got to get to this thing. Let's do it. But yeah, until then, of course, as always, may the force be with you always.